Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, A Step Towards Study. Today we are going to cover History, Chapter 1, Part 2. We are going to start from here, finding out about the past. In our last video, we did till to this topic, names of the land, like the names of the our own country, that is India, Bharat, Sindhu, Hindu, this is Indus. So this thing we saw in our last video. Now we are going to start with finding out about the past. Now there are several ways of finding out about the past. One is to search for and read books that were written long ago. So we can find out about a past when there is a written evidence, when there is some archaeological findings, then only we can find out what happened in the past. So one method is to search for and read books that were written long ago. These are called manuscripts. So manuscript is what? Manu means it is written by hand. It comes from the Latin word manu, meaning hand. So a page from the palm leaf manuscript. This manuscript was written about 1,000 years ago. The palm leaves are cut into pages and tied together to make books. To see a birch bark manuscript. So you must have seen everyone must have seen some type of manuscripts written in the past, written in the palm leaf. As we can also see, must be knowing about the Jataka. That was written our time when we were born. That was still written in the palm leaf. Even if you are born today also, then the digital Jataka has been arrived. But previously, I'm saying I was born in 1990, and that time also this palm leaf was used, and still many are using today also. But when you go for making of the Jataka, when a child is born now, it is digitally converted. So whatever is the thing, we need a written evidence. We need some archaeological findings. So that can say what happened in the past. Someone must have written the incidents so that when we read them, we can know, yeah, these all things happened in the past. So these are called manuscripts because they were written by hand. Hand means manu. It's a Latin word. These were usually written on a palm leaf or on the specially prepared bark of a tree known as the birch, which grow in the Himalayas. In the Himalayas, there is specially one tree is there, and the bark of that tree. Bark means the outside, the skin cover we can say of the tree is the bark. So there also these written evidence are written. I mean the evidences are mentioned, are written to find out about the past. So over the years, many manuscripts were written and eaten away by the insects. Some were destroyed, but many are found. So we can see here one type of this palm leaf, this manuscript, and here something is written, and in some languages. So that we can't understand now, but the archaeological group, they can find out, they research and they do find out what is written on these leaves. So have survived. So many are destroyed by the ants because these are leaves, so they are eaten away, and but many have still survived. So these are preserved in temples and monasteries. Monasteries means which one? Monasteries is the Buddhist temples, the religion, Buddhist, Jainism, these are the monastery temples. So there these are preserved. These books dealt with all kind of subjects, religious beliefs and practices, the lives of king, medicine and science. Because we know that medicine, science, and these have not evolved now. They are evolving from time immemorial. There we can see, we already know that our ancient in the ancient time there was a person named Sushruta. He was not using the modernized instruments now, but still then he performed surgery at that time. So those type of things, the medicine which are we are now slowly migrating from the allopathy to the Ayurvedic. So those things were already existed in the past. People were already aware that what leaves they should take when they have cold, what medicines they should, what type of Ayurvedic things, what type of leaves, what type of bark they can prepare to cure them from fever. So these type of things are already there. And as we already know, there were kings, queens, so their lives, their the style of living, the royal palaces, so these were also present in the manuscripts. So there also we can find the evidence. And one more important thing is the religious beliefs and practices. Religious beliefs means how we worship our God now, the different types of rituals we follow in our day to day life. So these are also followed in the past. So what type of beliefs, what type of practices they followed in the past and that are prevailing now is also found in the manuscripts. So there were different types of languages which are used to write these things. So some were written in Sanskrit, others were written in Prakrit. Prakrit was the language that were understood by the ordinary people at that time, and Tamil also. You know one thing, the Ashoka, the ruler who for the Kalinga war, he was attached mostly to his peoples because of what? Because he was using a language which was used by the ordinary people, which was that time not used by the royal kings. So that is why he was more attached to the common people. So we can say the Prakrit and the Pali languages that were ordinarily used by the common people. We can also study inscriptions. Inscriptions are what? Inscriptions are like on a hard stone. On a hard stone, we can find a relatively hard surfaces such as stone, metal. Sometimes king get the orders inscribed so that people could see, read and obey them. Like some hard structure is there, and on that structure, like on a rock surface or metal surfaces, some kings give some orders to for the common people to obey, to follow. So that we can see in the inscriptions, that is inscriptions. And sometimes it was also used to denote a territory, like for from this stone to that stone is my kingdom, you should not come into that territory. So that type of inscriptions were also there, the orders, and they were recording what men and women including kings and queens were doing that time. So that is a inscriptions. We can find different types of inscriptions throughout history, like we have variety of pillars. We can take examples also. So kings often kept records of victories in battle. Can you think of the advantages of writing on a hard surface and what could have been the difficulties? Of course, it's difficult, very difficult to write on a hard surface. How we came to know about the Kalinga war that was occurring in the 261 BC, long years ago? It is because of these inscriptions which we got in the Ashoka inscription part 13 edict, rock edict 13. So there we can find the evidence of the battle, how many people died, what type of weapons are used, how many people were killed. So that time and how the river got blooded. So that things are already written in the rock edict 13. So that is one type of inscription we can say. An old inscription. This inscription dates to about 2250 years ago and was found in Kandahar, present day Afghanistan. So you can see this inscription. This is a rock big stone where the inscriptions are written, where the things are written. Present day Afghanistan. It is present in Kandahar now. So it was inscribed on the orders of a ruler named Ashoka. You can already see Ashoka ruler. You will read about him in chapter 8. When we write anything, we use script. Script consists of letters and signs. Yes, when we write something, we must write letters or signs. Otherwise, another person, how he will understand? So that is a mode of communication. That is a mode of language, we can say. So scripts consist of letters or signs. When we read what is written on speak, we use a language. This inscription was inscribed in two different scripts, Greek and Aramaic, which are used in this area. So there were many other things that were made and used in the past. Those who study these things are called archaeologists. We say the archaeological evidence, And we have one also, the Archaeological Survey of India, which protects all our past monuments, all our glorifying marbles, the edicts, the you can say of the we can say Taj Mahal, the Puri temple, the Somnath temple, the Khandagiri, Udaygiri, everything is being monitored and protected by the Archaeological Survey of India. So those people who study these things are called the archaeologists. They study the remains of buildings made up of stone and brick, painting and sculpture. They also explore and excavate, dig under the surface of art to find tools and weapons, pots, pans, ornaments and coins. Some of these objects may be made of stone, others are bone, baked clay or metal. So we can see it's not only that when you directly go to a particular site and you can find different things what happened in the past. No, sometimes it must have got buried. You have to take it away from the earth surface. You have to excavate the things. So when you excavate, when suppose any wall, any Indus Valley civilization, or you can say the Harappan civilization, what remains they are finding now, those things. So how we are finding it? When we're excavating it. Excavate means digging out the surface of the earth to find the things. So different tools we can found, different weapons we can found, pots, fans, ornaments and coins. Some of these objects may be made up of stone, others of bone, baked clay or metal. Objects that are made of hard, imperishable substances usually survive for a long time. Imperishable means those who do not decay. Perishable substances means we can say, for example, our vegetables, fruits, fishes, these are perishable materials. That is, they get decayed after a period of time. And some are imperishable materials means that do not get decay, that do not get affected by the climate change, that do not get affected, washed away, or affected by the weather conditions. So these tools, weapons which were made earlier in the past, those are made up of stone. They may be made of bone also. Bone means bones of animals, bed, clay or metal objects. Okay, so you can see a picture of here a pot from an old city. This one is a pot. This pot was used like 4,700 years ago. We also know that our forefathers, our currently grandmothers, you can ask them, they were also using the pots to travel long distances and fetch water. So those things, equipments were also used in our past. And here you can see a old silver coin such as this one were used in the form of 2,500 years ago. So that was maybe a metal was used, or maybe a stone was used. So archaeologists also look for bones of animals, birds and fish to find out what people ate in the past. So if you find the bones of some animals, of some birds and fish, you can easily know whether they died a natural death or whether they were eaten by the human being. They were ate by the human being. So plants survived in far more rarely. If seeds or grains or pieces of wood have been burned, they survive in a card form. So do you think cloth is found frequently by archaeologists? Let me know in the comments. Historians. Historians, that is scholars who study the past, often use the word source to refer to the information found from manuscripts, inscriptions and archaeology. So who is the history? As we know, history is the study of past. So we can remember historians are the persons, are the scholars who study those things. They often use the word source, source of information. When we write an answer, when we write any phrase in our answer, we often mention the name of the person who quoted that phrase. So that is the source of information. So source is found from the manuscripts, from the inscriptions, as we already said, the rock edicts, the tools, the pots, the clay metals, the barter system, the coins which are used. So once sources are found, learning about the past becomes an adventure as we reconstruct it bit by bit. Yes, when something is found in a place, then only you get motivated, no, to find out more about the past. So that is the thing mentioned here. So historians and archaeologists are like detectives who use all the sources like clues to find out of the past. So they are no less than detectives, we can say. One past or many. Did you notice the title of the book, Our Past? We have used the word past in plural to draw attention to the fact that the past was different for different groups of people. Of course, when we are living the life of now, our life, a farmer's life, a daily wage laborer's life, a teacher life, a engineer life is not the same. Obviously, our kind of living, our style of living is different. For example, the lives of herders or farmers were different from those of the kings and queens. The lives of merchants were different from those of crafts or persons. Of course, when craft persons will use his skill to make different sources to sell his product. But the merchants will not do the same. The farmers will grow products in his agricultural fields and will use them to feed his own family and feed others. So his life is not same. Also, as is true to even today, people follow different practices and customs in different parts of the world. Yes, our different religions are different, our practices are different. For example, today most people living in the Andaman Islands get their own food by fishing, hunting, and collecting forest produce. Still, the people of Andaman Islands, the Lakshadweep Islands, they are far away from the digital India. They are far away from the urban life. They still use the mode of the past, that is fishing, hunting, and collecting forest produce to survive their life. So, but when we come to cities now, we depend on others for the supplies of food. We do not produce the food ourselves. So, difference such as these existed in the past as well. Besides, there is another kind of difference. We know a great deal about kings and the battles they fought because they kept records of their victories. As I was saying, how we came to know about the Kalinga War, how we came to know about the World War, how we came to know about the Battle of Plassey, how we came to know about the Battle of Buxa. So different types of battles were fought in the past. So these are known because the kings and the queens they kept records of their victories in form of stone, in form of some evidences. So ordinary people such as hunters, fishing folk, gatherers, farmers and herders did not keep records of what they did. When we are a normal person, we generally do not record what happens in our lives. But when you have a standard, then you start recording, I did this thing today, I went to this restaurant. So these are happening now also. So while archaeology helps us to find out about the lives, there is much that remains unknown, right? So what do dates mean? So dates, what is a date? We can say today 21 March 2020. So 2023. So these things are there in the past also. So if somebody asks you the date, you will probably mention the day, month and year, as I already said, 21st March 2023 and year. These years are counted from the date generally assigned to the birth of Jesus. Now we can see we have suppose we have one timeline, we have one graph. So if this one is the 0 and here is after Christ and here is before Christ. So this one we take as the 0 as the basic the birth of Jesus Christ, the founder of Christianity. So his birth we mark it as 0, and before his birth whatever happened, that is before Christ, and after his birth whatever happened, that is after Christ. So 2000 means years of birth of Christ. So before Christ means BC and after Christ means AC. Okay. So let us read this. So BC we have seen stands for before Christ. You will sometimes find AD before death. These stand for two Latin words, Anno Domini. Anno Domini means after Christ, but it is the same meaning as the after the birth of Christ. So 2012 can be written as AD 2012. Sometimes CE is also used instead of AD and BCE instead of BC. CE stands for Common Era. So that is the same thing, before Common Era, after Common Era. We began use from about 200 years ago, and sometimes the letters BP meaning before present. So these are the types of report. So elsewhere, we have seen that inscriptions are inscribed on hard surfaces. Many of these are inscribed several languages and several hundreds of years ago. All inscriptions contain both scripts and languages. So there were languages were used, scripts were used. I mean, scholars were understanding this. Pictorial representation was used. Some language signs were used. So this process is known as decipherment. Decipherment means from the pictures, from the languages, if the historians of today can decipher the meaning, can get the meaning, so that is known as the decipherment. One of the most famous stories of decipherment comes from Egypt, a country in North Africa where there were kings and queens about 5,000 years ago. So Rosetta is a town on the north coast of Egypt, and here an inscribed stone was found which contained inscription in three different languages, Greek and two forms of Egyptians. So scholars who could read Greek figured out that the names of the kings and queens were enclosed in a little frame called a cutout. So cutout was a frame where the kings and queens names were written in Greek languages. Then they placed this Greek and the Egyptian side by side and identified the sound for which the Egyptian letters stood. Lion stood for L, bird for A. Once they knew what the letter stood for, they could read other inscription ways. And this process, as I already said, is known as the decipherment. So here we just have some short note like the Narmada Valley, the first being kingdoms, we already saw the Indus Valley civilizations, the Magadha hunting and gathering. So we have to match this. So we can do one thing. Narmada Valley. So Narmada Valley is what? Magadha is cities about 2,500 years ago. Narmada Ganga Valley is the first cities. The Indus. So what we can do? You can. I mean, this is not the correct. As this one I have not matched. You have to match these things and let me know in the comments what is the correct answer for 1 and 2, and then we will discuss. Okay, then this one was all the things for today, and